Well, good morning, Shelter family. What's happening? It's Pastor Jay here for another 6 at 6. Here, this is for Thursday, April 16th, and I hope you are well. You're enjoying the outdoors, the weather. Some of you have been having a little bit more time with your family. Some of you have been really grinding at work. Either way, I will tell you this, that I believe that the joy of the Lord is our strength. That's what the Bible tells us. And so I wanted to get into something today that I think would encourage all of us. A lot of these messages that I've been giving you in the mornings have been very forward. You know, that's how I love to preach. I love to look at where we are deep inside of us, truly give an accurate description of where we are so that we can move forward in our walk with God. And today I think I wanted to land just a bit softer because I noticed something with my little 6-year-old that we've kind of been going through for a while. He's climbing up the walls, man. He is ready to go back to school, and that's not happening till August. So that's why you see these little bags in here. But I do want to share something with you. We have always played this game ever since he's been a little kid and had the ability to really stand on his own, is to line up on the end of my bed and jump to me. And it is so amazing to me, you know, in all these years of him jumping with me, he's never been dropped. He's never been let go. I've always caught him and we always get tickled, and then he wants to do it again, and that's kind of our little thing that we do. But it's interesting to me at 6 years old now where he can actually jump off the bed completely by himself and stand up, and sometimes he wants to do that. But a lot of times he asks me to catch him, but he still wants me to put my hands out, And it kind of troubles me, quite frankly, because I wonder why. Like, I've only ever caught him. I've always been faithful to when he jumps, catching him in the air and redoing it over and over and over and over again. But he still wants me to put my hands out. There's something in him where there's just a bit of doubt. And I wanted to read something to you out of scripture that when we watched the movie on Saturday night here in the parking lot, I saw this depiction of Thomas and Jesus seeing each other after Jesus had risen from the dead and appeared to the disciples. And Thomas goes on this gigantic rant about how he won't believe until he sees it. I want you to see what Jesus does, and I want to describe to you what I saw in the movie. It says this: one of the 12 disciples, Thomas nicknamed the twin, was not with the others when Jesus came. They told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he replied, "I won't believe it unless I see the nail wounds in his hands, put my fingers into them, and place my hand into the wound in his side." And 8 days later, the disciples were together again. And this time Thomas was with them. The doors were locked, but suddenly, as before, Jesus was standing among them. "Peace be with you." Then he said, "Thomas, put your finger here and look at my hands. Put your hand into the wound in my side. Don't be faithless any longer, believe." Thomas exclaimed, "My Lord and my God." Then Jesus told him, "You believe because you have seen me, but blessed are those who believe without seeing me." This really, really spoke to me when I watched the movie, because in the movie, the depiction of Thomas when he saw Jesus for the first time was so unbelievably embarrassed that he needed this encouragement. But what really stuck out to me is the way that Jesus embraced him. You know, Jesus didn't have to ask him to see his hands and his sides, but he did this to encourage his faith. Meaning this, that Jesus had the ability to work with a Peter who had the faith to step out of the boat, and yet he still had the ability to work with Thomas, who had the littlest of faith. You know, he talks about this in Luke chapter 17 when the apostles say to the Lord, "Show us how to increase our faith." And then the Lord answered and said, "Well, if you have the faith as small as a mustard seed, you could say to this mulberry tree, 'May you be uprooted and thrown into the sea,' and it would obey you." You know, we talk about this all the time at the church. You know, I really love that our church is so diversified. I love that there are people that are flowing in deep spiritual giftings and not afraid in this church body to share it with one another and to walk in this amazing faith life. I also love that we have people that have had different circumstances in their life where their faith is smaller yet growing. And what I see throughout Scripture, at least with Jesus, is that he is pleased by whatever amount of faith you activate in your life, whether it be small or whether it be large. I don't think we can discredit that, because we see it throughout the Gospels while Jesus is here, and then we see it, I believe, in our own life. Somehow, some way, we've bought into the concept that we're disqualified from being used by God if our faith isn't one of David going up against Goliath. David had to have that faith grown year after year, month after month, as he was a shepherd. So that faith was on trial. So I guess my question is to you today, as your pastor and someone that loves you, is what are you doing to grow your faith, whether it's great or whether it's small? This is something that I would say that needs to be requested of by you unto the Lord. Lord, today, give me opportunity to walk where it's not seen, to trust where there's not a perfect path laid out. God, I'm going to give you my commitment and my trust, even though I may not see what's ahead of me. Wherever you are in your faith walk, I believe that God will honor that. I believe that we see a precedent of it in Scripture. I'm going to get back to my house because I'm sure my little one is running ragged. I love you, church. Have a wonderful, wonderful Thursday.